Hey, what's going on, guys? It's Jack. Today, I'm doing a challenge with Echo Gaming where he is taking me through Diablo Immortal and being my mentor throughout my journey. In this video, we're going to be diving into some of my first impressions thus far, and a huge thank you to Diablo Immortal for sponsoring today's video. If you'd like to join us on our adventure, be sure to check out the link in the description down below. So, Echo, welcome in, man, and thank you so much for taking the time to mentor me.
No problem, man. I love diving in with the new players, getting you guys involved in the game so you could fall in love with Diablo Immortal. I'm really excited to hear about how well it's been going for you.
Yeah, well, you have a treasure trove of insane new player guides and everything out there. So I skipped all of them, and now I'm going to ask you a ton of questions about how I can actually do it because I got the hands-on. I got the hands-on knowledge. This is kind of rare for me coming from WoW and actually having being the one writing the guides and everything too.
No, it's all good, man. You have me at your full disposal, so I'm here to help you in any way that I can.
All right, wonderful. Well, I started playing Crusader based off of that support role that I'm used to in WoW. And funny enough that you were also playing it and recently re-rolled to it. I was kind of excited that you can actually choose to class swap as well whenever you want.
Yeah, that's something that was not with the game when it launched, and people were starting new classes, having to go through the whole campaign over again and do everything over again. You realize that class change needs to be a mechanic inside of the game, and I don't know how long it was, 6 months, a year after it launched, it was there, and it's something that there's players that class change every day. They just literally swap from one class to the other. That's a bit much for me. I like to stay one thing, but it's nice that you could swap classes, but keep all the power, the strength, and the gear that you farm. It just kind of converts it over to your new class. It's a great feature.
Yeah, and it's been really nice having the intro impression to kind of like ARPGs in general, because I've messed around with Diablo a little bit, especially at conventions and like game demos and things like that. And I never really fully dived into an ARPG to play it all the way through. So this is the first story really that I'm diving into. And I've already gotten, I think, 3 of the world stone shards thus far, but we haven't been able to destroy them yet. Thus far, I have a Crusader build where I'm like tossing out my shield and it's kind of whipping back mobs, and I can start macing and cleaving all of them down. But I think so far my favorite setup has been taking advantage of draw and quarter, especially when I've gotten to group up in some dungeon content too, because you're dragging like the entire dungeon alongside you.
I told you the other day, the horse is like the best thing inside of the game. It's what makes the Crusader so special. And that draw and quarter has a bunch of essences that are going to change how it works as time goes on as well. So it does get even better.
Awesome. Well, I'm glad to hear that. So I had a question early on about some of the mob interactions. So in WoW, we have a thing, where you're like kiting enemies. You might aggro them. They'll chase after you forever. But there's also a limit to it. There's a constraint where they go and reset back to like their original location. That doesn't happen for us in dungeon content. If you pull something, it just constantly follows you around. I just got into some of the Elder Rifts and Challenge Rifts and dungeons. Whenever you aggro enemies, are they just going to follow you forever so I could just pull the entire dungeon in one go?
Eventually, when you're inside of a dungeon or in the open world, the mobs will follow you for a while, but there is a point where they're going to retreat back to where they normally spawn from. So you can't get the entire dungeon and then, blast them with your horse or anything like that. Unfortunately, I know that's what you're probably trying to do, but you can you could get a large number of enemies. There is a new feature that just dropped inside of the game in the most recent update. I'm talking a few days ago, where enemies will attack you and basically siren an alarm. And in the open world, enemies will come at you from all over the place. So it can give you that horde-like experience that maybe you're looking for.
Okay, sweet. I was kind of just curious because of how efficient I should be in like the leveling process. I'm about halfway through the storyline at the moment. I just got to the Crusader Sea, which is a barren desert, and got to meet the curator, all of that fun stuff. And so I'm looking at how I want to continue leveling like most efficiently. I know that the main storyline has been giving me like a crazy amount of XP, but I hit a couple points where I needed to run and level a little bit further just to continue the storyline. So what else besides the storyline should I be keeping up with just to level as fast as I can?
Yeah, what you're talking about is your combat rating. Combat rating is the requirements that you need to get further on in the story. Each zone, you said that you just unlocked the Crusader Sea, it has a combat rating recommendation. And if you're not at, or at least close to that recommendation, the enemies inside of that zone are going to be really difficult for you to take down. So yeah, you're starting to experience that. And there's going to be points in the game where you're kind of stuck and you can't get to the next zone because once you walk in, you start getting blasted by enemies. So you need to increase your combat rating. You could do that mostly through upgrading your gear. When you go to the blacksmith, you have the ability to upgrade your gear, all 6 of your slots. At some point in time, there's going to be 8 different slots for you. And as you upgrade, it increases your combat rating, and that makes you more prepared to take on those more difficult stages as you go throughout the game. You could also do it through legendary gems, which is slotted inside of your main gear. You could do it through secondary normal gems, which are in your green items. And it's basically just the progression that the game takes. And you need materials to do that. So you're going to need to salvage the gear you're not using so you can have the materials to upgrade the gear that you do want to use.
Okay, so I have a bunch of materials. I wasn't sure if I wanted to upgrade until I got to Endgame or something, so it's good to know that I can start upgrading right away. Now, what about if I'm a little bit short on like combat rating or a level or something like that to move on to the storyline? Is there challenge rifts, greater rifts, elder rifts? Like, what am I supposed to do just to kind of fill in a little bit of that XP gap if the storyline's not giving it to me?
Sure, that's a great question because really at the end of the day, you're doing the storyline to start the game, and there's going to be a point where it drops off. And like for me, for example, I don't do the story at all anymore. I mean, it's something I've already gone through until new zones open. But you're going to get great experience from doing your bounties every day, from doing activities inside of the game. There's different activities that pop up, events they're called. They're going to give you nice rewards. Some of those rewards may be gear that's better than the gear that you're wearing, or it may be resources that you can use to upgrade the gear that you have. You had the right idea with running Elder Rifts because you could start getting yourself legendary gems that you can then slot into your gear, upgrade the legendary gems, and that's going to give you more abilities, but also more combat rating as well. And a little tip to you, someone that's a brand new player, I would recommend 1 and 2-star gems for the beginning stages of the game to upgrade those to get the combat rating, the powers and skills that you want versus the 5-star gems because they are extremely difficult to upgrade. Cool thing there though is you never have to trash something that you've used. You could always use it as materials to upgrade something else. So it's a nice, smart system they have in place.
Oh, perfect. So there's not anything that I could like mess up or like waste, you mean, when it comes to upgrading my gear?
No, I think it's pretty safe, man. You could, now in the game, you're able to make a gem dormant. So if you rank it up to rank 10, which is the top rank, instead of using it as materials to upgrade another one, you can make it dormant, which means it takes all of the gem power out of the gem. It turns it a gray color. It's a dead gem. And you could take that power and put it into another gem, which is cool because then if you ever want to awaken that gem again, you just take the gem power, put it back in, and you already have your rank 10 gem back. So it's a pretty safe mechanic.
Awesome. That's good to know. So when it comes to the leveling I have at the moment, I've been doing a Crusader setup. I've been using draw and quarter. I've been tossing out my shield. I've like my mace attack, and I think I have Fallen Sword as like my 4th ability going into it. Do you have any recommendations for new player builds, or would you just recommend that I try a bunch of different things out since builds are going to be a lot more like refined and precise, at least from what I understand when I hit endgame?
Yeah, in the beginning, the game does offer that recommended builds. It gives you some general builds, which are good for new players if you're just looking for something basic. There's a new feature as well that you could use community builds, which are some of the builds being used by some of the best in your class. The problem is you probably don't have all the essences or skills you need for it that are from the gear, or you may not have the gems required to make those builds function properly. My recommendation for new players is to always mess around with the skills, make sure you understand what they do. You seem like the kind of guy who is going to stick around as a Crusader for a while. You seem like the type that's going to, master a class as you have healer in WoW. You're going to probably want to understand how it works. And of course, look up guides, look at YouTube videos, look at the guides inside of the game or on the websites to kind of get some direction, but see what you like. I've tried out builds from other people, let's say a PvP build that's used specifically for fighting other players. And there's many different ones. Some of them, I just don't like how it works. It's not how I like to play the game. So you need to find a build that works for you. Me personally, I want to do a ton of damage around me and have very little skill and just spam and damage everything. That's me.
That sounds awesome. I mean, I'm coming from playing a healer, so I think this might be exactly what I'm looking for, is to something that's not as stressful, not as much work, or not as much thought I need to put into it, or something to just start smashing buttons. Hopefully it has the horse in it as well, because I don't know if I can go without it. I've had a couple times where I get like boxed in by some minions and I'm trying to like fight my way out, and every time I'm just mashing my horse, waiting for it to be coming off cooldown so I can just run away from mobs, drag it all into a pile, and like AoE it down once again.
Well, I'll tell you one thing about the horse that's an unfortunate for you. You can get
Mm,
knocked off your horse, and it could then be on cooldown. You'll have to find other ways to escape. But I do also love the horse. I think it makes the Crusader so unique. And I mean, who doesn't love riding a horse? And the horse changes colors
that's
when you
right.
do different essences as well. You could have a flaming horse, an ice horse. You could have a golden horse. I don't know. Silly things, but they're cool to me.
Now you just reminded me. Speaking of flames, I didn't think there was a lot of puzzles in Diablo Immortal, and then I found my first puzzle. I admit I was enjoying, just being able to have. I was watching a little bit of football that last night, and I was just playing some Diablo Immortal and just relaxing. And then I got to this challenge. Have you done the, or do you remember the flaming orb challenge with the lanterns?
I remember it very well. I've played this game through alphas, betas, and full release, so I've played that puzzle multiple times. And every time I've played it, I say, I should record this and make a video because I get stumped by it every time. I forget. But what was your experience?
So I read around and I got the clues, and so I was like, "Oh yeah, like light the corners, and then you'll be fine." So like at the very first moment, I was just clicking random things, and I was like, "Oh, let me do it." And I'm like, "Oh, I messed this up, so let me find clues." Went out, found the clues, and said, "Okay, go light up the corners, you'll be fine." So without resetting it, I just started lighting up the corners, and I was like, "Why can't I complete this?" And I don't remember how long it took me, but I feel like a significant amount of time passed. And then I looked at it, I was like, why is this taking me so long? And that's where I had to go look it up. And then it was like, hey, oh, by the way, there's a little reset totem behind it. But I'm not that used to having I guess your screen kind of like more closed in. So it was actually like behind a shadow, it felt like. And I just had to move towards the shadow to see hey, you have to go reset your lights and everything like that. And then I got it done in like seconds. So
Yeah.
that was my, I think that was probably my biggest like new player fail experience, was not realizing that there's not fully exploring an area and not realizing that there's a reset for it.
No, I could completely understand. I personally don't like puzzle mechanics in games. I know some people love that stuff and they play games for it. I'm not into it. I don't like to have to figure it out. This is a Diablo action RPG. I want to smash things. So,
Yeah.
so luckily there are only two puzzle mechanics in the game, and I think they're from the same zone. The second one is easier than the first, so you won't have to encounter that again. But yeah, I still go back and say I wish I would have made a video on that, because so many, and you're a perfect example. So many people are getting stuck in that same spot. But I'm happy that you've moved on from it, and it didn't take you the whole lifetime.
That's right. Thankfully, I have somebody to ask. Because that time lapse that we're gonna have a showing how much time elapsed is not my proudest moment. Certainly not.
That's funny.
Neither was my death when I didn't realize where the potion button was. I got very used to just out of combat regen, or just as a healer in WoW being the one to heal my character, and so I ran into a bunch of skeletons. I think at like level 10 or something along those lines. Had my first death there.
Yeah, the good thing about Diablo Immortal is you could just resurrect. There's no.
I saw that.
Yeah, it's. I mean, if you think of regular Diablo, you have, what is it, hardcore, where if you die, your game is over. That is not a thing in Diablo Immortal. That would be pretty brutal if it was. But yeah, you could just respawn and you're good to go. So I actually come, which is strange, but I come from a shooter background. I play like Gears of War and Call of Duty and games
Oh, yeah.
like that. So I was always used to just go hide and you'll heal a little bit. So when I came
Right,
into the
right.
Diablo scene as well, same thing. I had to get used to the potion, but now it's just second nature.
Yeah, that makes a lot of sense. Okay, so with me being about halfway through the story, we've talked about getting into some like the Rift content as well. How much do you ever recommend to new players to be like grouping up for some of the bounties or joining some of the clans? Or is that something that people are mostly doing during Endgame to start like that gearing process?
Yeah, I don't think it's ever a bad time to join a group or to join a clan, because you'll get additional rewards for doing that. When you're in a clan, there may be some extra activities that you can do that'll give you some rewards. If you become a shadow, you have shadow contracts that'll give you rewards and further your progression. And just fun tip here, if you run in a group of 4 inside of the game, so if you party up with 3 other players and you do open world farming, if you do your bounties, if you do dungeons, you have chances of dropping normal gems. And those normal gems then get slotted into your green gear or your secondary gear and upgraded. So it's definitely worth your time to find a party and to just dive into whatever you plan on doing with that party. Now, I know that's sometimes easier said than done. you have to kind of make friends inside of the game. They have to be on at the same time as you. But they do have
Yep.
queues where you can either join other people or you could set up a lobby and they could join you. But the best is the random dungeon feature. It allows you to hook up with any players from any other servers and run dungeons together. So you go in a random dungeon, it throws you into that dungeon that's appropriate for your difficulty that you've chosen with 3 other people that are running it with you. And in doing that, 1, dungeons get done quicker. 2, you can get gem drops from them. And 3, you can get your 3 daily dungeons done easily. And that's going to be giving you extra bonuses from your codex, which is basically your daily activity rewards.
Oh, right. Okay. So I noticed whenever I was running some of the dungeons, they had the like massacre, sort of like the flaming wick and everything going into it, and you get, the kill streaks setting up. How do you min max that? And how much do you really focus on maximizing that sort of massacre?
It depends on what type of a player you are. For the
Okay.
big time action RPG guys that this is their life and their fingers bleed for it, I am not that guy. I love the game and I play a heck out of it. But for those guys, they're trying to keep that up because your points and your experience increases higher the more that massacre is going on. You do that just by continuously killing things. And if you're in a party, you're able to keep that going longer, especially if you spread out amongst the zone and you could keep that massacre growing and growing. So that's actually a strategy a lot of people have done in dungeons. They would tell you, okay, you're going to run here, you're going to run here, we're going to keep this kill streak going, and we're going to gain more experience from that run. Does it make the run more stressful? 100% it does. Do you gain more experience?
Yeah.
Yes, you will. So it depends on how you want to play the game. I always go by the motto, I want to play and have fun while I'm playing. I don't want to make it a stressful experience. Not that I don't get myself into some stressful experiences anyways. But it's, you can get more experience from doing that. It depends on what kind of player you are.
Okay, that makes sense. I wasn't sure because in WoW Dungeons, for what I'm familiar with, we were all running at the same pace. We're all moving together. We're all staying as a group. I wasn't sure how much it commonly was, hey, go everybody spread out to different sections so we can AoE down everything as fast as you possibly can, or if it just stay together and just slam.
Well, that's an XP strategy, right? Like if you want to keep the massacre going. But the funny thing is, you as a Crusader, you're going to make a lot of friends. Everyone wants a Crusader on their team, just like everyone wants a healer on their team, because you could help out the team with survivability. Specifically, if you're going in dungeons that are more difficult, if you're running Heliquary, which is against big bosses, they're going to want the banner, which is going to increase crit chance of your team, and they're going to want essentially your bubble, which is going to allow for you to make everyone shielded for 3 seconds. So as you learn the enemies, you know when they strike, you pop your bubble. When they're vulnerable, you pop your banner and you increase crit chance. Everyone wants you on their team, man. You can be the most popular guy on the server.
All right, well, that's good to know. I do like that. Another question I got for you. Now that I'm like halfway through the story, I think by the time that you and I get to sync together next, I should be done with that and I should be getting towards Endgame. You mentioned there's just so much to do in the game that I feel a little bit overwhelmed at first as to what are the priority lists once I hit max level. What should I be focusing on, in your opinion, once I get to that point, once I finish the story?
Yeah, I'll give you some tips, and then I think I'm going to give you a full guide on this in our next video that we do together. But but some things that you're going to want to do every day because they're going to net you the best rewards. Before I share with them with you, though, remember, you don't want to become stressed because of the game. You want to be able to enjoy it at the same time. So if you can't hit on everything, because there is a ton in Diablo Immortal, it's okay. It's not going to hurt you at the end of the day. You're going to want to do bounties. That's number one. They're going to give you some of your best rewards. You're going to want to do the 3 dungeons every day. They're going to give you great rewards as well. Running yourself the Elder Rift. If you have some rare crests, throw them in there. That's going to also give you good rewards. And as I mentioned earlier, seeing what activities or events have popped into the game that are offering you different rewards. If you're looking for the best way to level and get rewards, those are probably the 4 best ways of doing that. If you don't care about that and you just want to enjoy the game for whatever it is, play whatever it is that you enjoy in the game. If you like challenge rifts because you're trying to progress your time and be the fastest run in that rift, you can do that. Problem is, you get faster from getting stronger, and you get stronger from getting the better gear. So it all comes full circle.
That makes a lot of sense. And when you have players hit endgame, do they start focusing on just PvP or just challenge rifts or something along those lines? How do players sort of differ in what they do at endgame?
Such a great question, and it varies. When you think about Diablo, typically it's not a PvP game. Diablo Immortal is
Yeah.
the first PvP version of Diablo. And there are players that play the game for PvP. They want to play against other players and they want to meet in the battlegrounds. There's actually a new war games mechanic inside of the game that I've actually been doing some work with now myself, where we could host our own tournaments and have requirements for strength of players. So, you know, kind of whispering esports into the air with that mechanic, which is really cool. I love it. But you have people that play for PvP and they do all the PvE to strengthen themselves for PvP. And then you have people, players that are more traditional Diablo players that want nothing to do with PvP. They want to just continuously unlock things for their character, get the perfect pieces of gear, upgrade their gems, and take down the bosses as quick as they can. Go into Helliquary and try to get record times, or challenge rifts and try and break those times that other players have gotten, which is a more traditional way of playing Diablo. So really, it's split. Players play for many different reasons.
All right, that's good to know. It sounds like there's an insane amount of things for me to do, and I'm really excited because I'm going to have the expert analysis and the expert help and everything along the way. So huge thank you, Echo, for taking all the time to be able to help me out with this one. And if you guys haven't checked out his channel, he has a wealth of different tools for new players in Diablo Immortal. And we're also going to be doing more videos together as we're walking me through all of the process and getting into Endgame. So huge thank you to Diablo Immortal for sponsoring today's video. Once again, if you haven't checked out the link in the description down below and want to join us, be sure to do so. And we'll be back with more updates alongside my adventure in Diablo Immortal. Thanks again, Echo. Be sure to check him out as well, guys, and subscribe to him.
No problem. Thanks for having me on.
Thanks so much for watching, guys. Hope you all enjoyed it, and I'll catch you all next time.